Kristin, thank you for joining us today. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Liliana. Yes, so thanks again. And to get started, my name is Kristin, and I work as a manager for GRI's Corporate and Stakeholder Engagement team. So I prepared a relatively short presentation. I think it will take me 10-12 minutes. And basically, I will just go through some of the recent changes in GRI and also elaborate a bit on what is the relevance of sustainability reporting and then reporting with GRI. So just briefly to start, and for whom you are not familiar with us yet, just a bit of background on GRI and who we are first. So GRI offers a global disclosure framework to support companies to be transparent about their sustainability performance and to report on their impacts on the economy, the society, and the environment. And the GRI standards are suitable for all reporting organizations. This is regardless of the sector you're in, the size and geographic location. And today we work with thousands of reporting organizations, and GRI is currently the most used framework for sustainability reporting worldwide. And we see about 75% of the largest organizations that are using the GRI standards to report on their impacts. GRI is also a multi-stakeholder organization, and this means that we work with a global network of thousands of sustainability professionals, and this is also an approach that we use when we are updating our standards to make sure that there is a diverse expertise and multi-stakeholder approach to the standards, and also always with the multi-stakeholder inputs throughout the process. We are based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, but we also have colleagues that work around the world to support the local reporting organizations. And we as well work with local training partners that are delivering GRI training to starting reporters. So as Liliana mentioned, it's an extremely exciting time for GRI currently. A few weeks ago, on October 5th, we went through a process of revising the universal standards, and the updated standards were released on October 5th, as well as the first GRI sector standards for oil and gas. So this revision led to a broader update to the system of the GRI standards. And you can also see here on the slide that we are planning further updates of sector standards for coal, for agriculture, aquaculture, and fishing, and also for mining in the coming year. And you can follow this process always on our website as well. So if you want to see which sector standards stands next in terms of development, you can always follow that on our websites. And in total, we are planning to develop sector standards for 40 different industries. So for who know the GRI standards and have used them before, you can already see on this slide that the standards now, after the revision of the universal standards, look slightly different compared to the previous set of standards. So before we had 3 universal standards and 34 topic-specific standards, and now in the middle here you can also see that sector standards are added to the system. So with the additional the sector standards, the GRI standards now consist of the 3 series of standards. So the universal standards, the sector standards, and the adapted topic standards. And the revised universal standards are identified by a green cover with numbers 1, 2, and 3. So that is the GRI 1 Foundation 2021, which is the starting point for using the standards, the GRI 2 General Disclosure, and the GRI 3 Material Topics. And here, of course, 2021 refers to the publication year. So the universal standards apply to all organizations and guide reporters on how to report with the standards. So they, for instance, they contain requirements and reporting principles that all organizations must comply with to be in accordance with GRI reporting. The sector standards that were now developed also intend to increase the quality, the completeness, and the consistency of reporting by organizations. So they provide information for organizations about their likely material topics based on their sector's most significant impacts. And this is aimed to help organizations identify disclosures to report information about these topics. And all GRI topic standards are adapted to ensure the consistency with the now revised universal standards. So changes to the topic standards focus only on those that are necessary to ensure that there are no contradiction with the revised standards. So these, for you who are used the standards before, they have not changed, and the information to be reported remains the same. So the revised standard will be effective for information that is published on or after the 1st of January 2023. But as always, we encourage early adoption. So if you have the possibility to transit sooner, that is, of course, desirable. So why did we go through the process of revising the universal standards? So overall, the revision aimed to embed mandatory human rights related disclosure for all reporting organizations and to integrate reporting on due diligence into the GRI standards. We also updated them to provide greater clarity on some of the key concepts, reporting principles and disclosure. And also to clarify the approach for using the GRI standards and to demonstrate compliance consistent application, as well as improving the usability of the standards. So I'm not going to go in depth about concretely what has changed compared to the previous standards, but I wanted to make sure that we have already some guidance and some documents online where you can actually see what has changed. There is also a leaflet, there is FAQ, there is also a mapping document that are where you can see how the disclosure compared to the previous standards, as well as GRI Academy course. So I think these links will also be shared with our attendees online after the event today, so you're able to have a look at them when you have time to do that. I have a few more slides, Liliana. It takes just a few minutes, just a little bit about the relevance of reporting and why GRI can be helpful for companies when it comes to reporting their sustainability impacts. So I think that we can all agree on that there is very little doubt that the demand for sustainability information and reporting has sharply increased over the last decade, and even more so over the last few years. And at GRI, we also see a great interest and demand for reporting also from SMEs and smaller organizations nowadays. So reporting with the standards gives the opportunity for companies really to measure their impacts and to set targets to improve, and also to communicate this effort and priorities to all of the stakeholders. And also reporting with the standards provides the ESG data that market regulators and investors require. And we also see that GRI is the most widely referenced ESG disclosure instrument by governments, by regulators, and stock exchanges around the world. So we are dedicated to ensure that the data companies provide also cover multiple reporting requirements, and this is also the reason why the universal standards were updated. To reflect expectation for responsible business conduct, for instance, for the UN principles on business and human rights, the OECD guidelines, and the OECD due diligence guidance for responsible business conduct. And as Jonathan as well mentioned, we are working hard to make sure that the landscape becomes easier to navigate for reporting organizations. And when we're updating the standards as well, we are always considering the alignment with these and other relevant regulations and frameworks. So you can see that there are also helpful guidance and documents online that can help companies to navigate the sustainability landscape and the different frameworks. So they are compatible. It's not like you have to choose one and stick with that. You can also, and we see more and more examples of companies that are reporting with different frameworks simultaneously. So finally, we do see a growing momentum for sustainability reporting also in the context of the global pandemic. And we have learned from the pandemic that multiple stakeholders, including investors, customers, as well as employees, are pressing for more transparency from their organizations. And sustainability and transparency in deciding what we call the new normal after the pandemic is also can use to manage risk and build sound business continuity plans. We also see a lot of movement in the policy and regulation field for sustainability reporting, for instance, through the European Green Deal and through the upcoming EU reporting standards. So the new EU sustainability reporting standards will be developed or being developed in this moment. And this means that reporting will be made mandatory with both sustainability and financial information for a large pool of European companies. So as the standards are not developed yet, there is still some uncertainty of how they will look like and what specifically they will ask companies to disclose. But both EU and GRI are both committed to standards that are multi-stakeholder inclusive and the adoption of double materiality. So which means that companies should report about how the sustainability issues affect their business and also about their own impact on people and the environment. So I think, Liliana, with that, I will hand it back over to you, and I'm ready for some questions. Yeah.
Thank you for this presentation. I, as a user, really appreciate that GRI standard it's compatible with all others standards which are on the market. I really appreciate it. As a user, it's really convenient for us, and I think it's one of the reasons that this standard is also the most popular in Poland as a reporting standard. So we are really interested in what will happen in the future, because we are looking that GRI is growing internationally fast, and simultaneously here we have a lot of changes in reporting landscape. EU is developing new standard, and as Jonathan said, IFRS is setting this new sustainability reporting standard board. So we are all interested in the position of GRI towards those changes.
Yes, it's an excellent question. And yeah, I mean, personally, I think it's very positive to see that there is so much going on and that there will become more and stricter requirements for reporting. Not for it itself, but also for the impact it can actually have if more companies are reporting and if it becomes more systematic. And this is both in terms of number of companies that will need to disclose sustainability information and the fact that this information will also need to be assured. And I think this really strengthening the whole debate and the possibilities we have to actually impact on crucial sustainability issues. And speaking like GRI, really believe that the requirements that both the sustainability reporting and will be on equal footing with financial reporting, as is set out in the EU proposal, will ensure also a much more transparency for all stakeholders when it comes to the impact companies has on responsible business conduct, and also for the place for the private sector to participate in solving some of these pressing challenges that we are facing today. Mm-hmm. So further, maybe to elaborate a bit more on, we're talking about the upcoming EU standards and compared to what is already in place, like the non-financial reporting directive, we think that the CSRD will also be more specific. So it's likely to specify in more details the information that should be reported by the reporting organizations. And also the scope of the requirements for, of course, it's a major change compared to the NFRD. That's where I think companies with 500 employees or more is now reduced to 250 employees and all listed companies. So how I say, the amount of companies in total that needs now to disclose more information has significantly increased. And this is also, I think, will have an impact on companies also outside of the EU through their value chain reporting, because value chain reporting will be made mandatory in the upcoming standards. So information related to, for instance, human rights and scope 2 and 3 emissions will lead to that. This will also impact non-European companies. So I think that's also extremely positive.
Mm-hmm. Well, in your presentation, you show us that you updated universal standards, and they are now in line with, I would say, with CSRD, actually. And we know that GRI signed an agreement with the body EFRAG, we are saying, who's working on the new reporting standards. And we are wondering, and I'm also personally curious, what's the input of GRI in the standard, and can we expect that the future standard will be consistent with the GRI standards, the future European?
We receive a lot of questions about that, and I wish I had a more specific reply to you. But in short, what we know at this stage is that there has been signed an agreement. This was back in July, that GRI will be supporting with the technical development of the new EU standards. So this agreement was signed between EFRAG and GRI. So basically, I think it says that they agree to share technical expertise to co-construct the new and upcoming EU standards, and also contribute to further global convergence of sustainability frameworks out there. So as we have not seen the standards yet, we cannot say anything certain about, as I mentioned, how they will look like and specifically what they will ask companies to disclose. But I think it's safe to say that the GRI standards will certainly be helpful to comply with the CSRD. So what we do know at this stage, for instance, is that both EU and GRI are committed to standards that are multi-stakeholder inclusive. And as GRI reporters already know, we are asking the communication is done for all stakeholders, not focused on only one stakeholder group, but also, I say, the input when it comes to the materiality analysis, for instance, is done in a multi-stakeholder approach. So so EU is also looking at all effective stakeholders. They are also likely to be similar when it comes to the scope, for instance, in terms of what are the issues we are looking at. So the EU is also asking for all sustainable development issues at the same time, including the impact of an organization's product and services and its broader value chain, and as well as the materiality. So the EU, what they say so far is that they want to have a double materiality approach. So they're asking companies to disclose information that is their impact on the society and the environment, but also how this impact, how changes in society and environment are impacting the organization financially. So it's likely to be a double materiality approach from the EU side. So I think that's what I can say at this point. But I think also in next year it will become more clearer how it will look like, and also more specifically how GRI has contributed to the developments.
You shared a little bit what you will be doing in the future from your presentation. I deduct that we can expect more maybe sector standards, but can you share with us what are the plans for the next year, what we can expect from you in 2022?
Yes, certainly. So I do know the overall plans. There are no, specific dates for, for when new standards will be released yet. But the main project from the standards division is indeed to continue the update of the sector standards. And of course, this is a huge project, as we are looking at 40 different sector standards to be developed. And we're starting with the sectors that have the most heavily impact. So that's why we started with oil and gas sector standard, which was now recently released. And next year, also in the first half of the year, we can also expect that the coal standard will be released, as well as the agriculture, and fishing. And for the second half of next year, also sector standards for mining. So in terms of the sector standards, those are the four ones that will be released next year, most likely. And then you can always also follow this on the website. We have a document there, and we have a consistent update about what are the next sectors that will come after that. So different industries can look at when they can expect sector standards in their industry.
Because there are still available sector standards from GRI G4, and you will be those sectors will be as a first to update, or you will not look into what was in the past and you will just choose the sectors. now?
Yes, I think we are looking at the most heavily impact sectors first, and for those that are say for the sectors still missing the sector standards, or a general advice is you can still use the G4 sector guidelines until new sector standards are in place. But I can show you actually. I think I have a link here. I can share in the chat as well. I can send a link, because there you can see which the whole list of sector standards and who will be prioritized first. So what you can expect first from that list. So happy to share that also afterwards, so you can have that overview.
Yeah, we'll send it via email to everybody who attends today, or not attend today but registered. And you present the changes in the Universal Standard 101, 2, and 3, and I have a questions why they are renamed into 1, 2, and 3. But anyway, there are some changes there, and could you say, like, really shortly, what should beginners in reporting look at, and what should more advanced user look into? When you take into consideration to this new universal standards?
Yeah, that's also an excellent question. I think also, as I mentioned in my presentation, for for beginners, it makes more sense to go directly into the revised standards and to teach how to use that one. And it's, of course, you can see a bit overwhelming, especially if the first time you're doing it, but there is a lot of learning also available on GRI's website on how to get started with reporting. And I think that the first thing to do is, of course, to download the standards. Those are for free. To start with the GRI 1, which is called the foundation documents, because there you can see the process, what is expected to prepare a report, who needs to be involved from different teams as well, to get a better understanding and to create like a plan for how to get started with it. There are a lot of free courses online as well on how to get started with everything. So my advice would be to get started, although no one is expecting that the first report is perfect, and it's not normal that it should be, and it's a process, it's a journey, you know. So it's
thank you for saying that.
Yeah, certainly. There is no GRI police. What we hear a lot is that companies are worried to send the report to GRI because they're afraid that it's not good enough and so on. And I think that's really not a concern you should have. I think it's really to get started. And we also have something called in accordance reporting, which there are certain reporting requirements that need to be fulfilled in order to call it in accordance report. But we also have something, and this is oftentimes what companies start with, they just use certain disclosures without fulfilling, all the reporting principles and requirements. And that's also a way to get started with reporting, to just start to use some of the standards for disclosing information, and then get more and more into the system afterwards with the different reporting principles and reporting requirements. So my advice, just to get started and to see. And I think the process is the most important, not the report itself, like what you learn in the process, and also the impact this can have on the company, to really understand, okay, what is the impact and where you can actually make a change, because we are not asking companies to report on everything. That's why we also have the materiality assessment, to really make sure to focus on your most significant impact and to get started there.
Thank you. I think that was helpful for our audience. I was wondering as well, I would like to ask you the same question: ESG report or sustainability report? Which term will be used in the future?
Yes, that's also a very good question. And it's which one will be used in the future? It will be pure speculation from my side. But I think, at least in my understanding of it, is that we are talking about the same thing. There is no big difference between a sustainability report and an ESG report. We are talking about the same thing. And also ESG stands for environment, social governance, and this is also topics that we ask you to provide information about in a sustainability report. So those two are complementary, and we are talking about the same thing.
Okay, I have the same view, that we have different names, but the content remain the same, actually. So just probably what your audience is. That you just name the report, you just choose the name of the report. as I said before, the key theme of this Sustainability Business Week is working in the ESG field, as we observe the growing pressure on delivering ESG data. And so positions such as ESG manager or expert are emerging. And your position, corporate stakeholder manager, means that you are meeting a lot of managers, ESG managers, and lots of companies. So from your experience, what usually those persons' responsibilities are if you are ESG or sustainability manager, and what competencies, in your opinion, are needed to fulfill this role?
Yes, excellent question again. I think, yeah, as we heard before, that it's really what we see now is it's really a multidisciplinary. We don't see that you come from a specific background and everyone working as a sustainability team is from the same background. We see a lot of different disciplines. So people coming from financial backgrounds, social science backgrounds, engineering backgrounds. So I think, and that's also why it's, who is the sustainability manager? It really depends on, and I think the most important thing is to have a passion for sustainability, to want to change something, and there is not a one answer to, okay, what background you should have. What is important, I also think, is to have good communication skills, planning and organization skills, and a basic knowledge of sustainability. You don't need to be an expert on a certain topic or a certain sustainability team in order to be a sustainability manager. We need diversity, different ways of thinking in order also to drive change. So I will say the same as been said before, multidisciplinarity, background, different specialities.
Mm-hmm. I think it's what you said is important to have diversity to drive the change, that we are still driving the change and we are on this boat together. And I look at the time, and my final question, what piece of advice could you give to beginners in the reporting field and to advanced reporters?
Yes, and I think I elaborated on a bit before as well, to keep in mind that sustainability reporting is a journey. No one expects the first report to be perfect, but it can be an eye-opening, and I think the process is more important than the outcome itself, what you learn through the process and also how you can learn what you can improve for next time. When it comes to, there is a lot of free learning out there, and this is also for more advanced reporters that wants to develop, wants to improve, maybe wants to change and use different frameworks. And so there are a lot of good examples as well. We have, for instance, a linkage document or practical examples from other companies. So that will also be an advice I would give as well, to see what are your peers doing, what are your companies from similar industry, similar size, and with a similar profile. What are they focusing on to get at least some hints to get started on how you can move forward with it. And I also think that what we see a lot, and of course GRI is an independent organization, means that we do not have an opinion about sustainability reports. We simply deliver a framework, and we also do not audit and reports. So for instance, I do think we see a lot of different quality reports, and at least my personal advice will be because we see big reports with a lot of information, a lot of qualitative information. And I think to keep it simple is also a good advice you can give to reporters. So less is more in a way. So make sure that your communication is clear. You have a clear idea. Okay, what do you want to say? How, and to communicate this in a clear way throughout the report as well will make it a lot easier for the report reader to actually understand what is the focus of the company. So that's another advice I would give you. So the clarity first. Clarity first, yeah. First.
You said it's a good advice to look what your peers are doing, and now a question came up to my mind, because I was recently looking at GRI disclosure database, and I saw on the link that there is just a new form. Is this just temporary, or we will still have an access to the old GRI database?
Yes, this is also a question we received a lot, and it's a pity that it has been removed, but it was also removed for a very good purpose, and the fact that we don't have resources to keep on updating it, and also the main reason for it is that we are losing track of a lot of data, because a lot of reporters were not aware that they need to notify GRI of the use of the standards. So it didn't give a good impression of how many GRI reports is actually out there. So we are now in process of trying to come up with a better system to gather all this information. So there will be a solution for it, and hopefully a similar solution, but with more, with more fulfilled data in there. So what will be and how this will look like is not ready yet, but we are working on how to come up with a new place where we gather all the information, because we know that this is also a good way to prepare your report and to see other reports. So there will be a solution for it soon, hopefully.
Okay, it was really valuable resource, I would say. So we will wait and look into a new one when you will be ready to share it. Thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing the main developments, your plans, and for giving your advice. I think we are looking at the Polish market and our practice, and you have this international view and connecting different stakeholders. So your advice I found really valuable. So thank you so much for being today, and I hope we will connect in the future, as the landscape is so dynamic that we'll have much to talk about next year as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.